certainly grants are out there to help us to fill in the infrastructure and growth needs that we have without substantial debt incurred.
Well, the state has been given money by the federal government for programs like septic and sewer. I've already seen 3 bills drafted for this session coming up about septic and sewer. So for the case, again, that's perfect for us. We can pay for the hookup fees and hook them up with a one-time plan.
And we have one already in, we
Right.
submitted one of those not long ago.
Yeah, so they're really pushing septic and sewer again, so we can keep expanding that way as well with their money.
You know, I submitted Beacon Hill sewer, totality plus, the septic sewer, so it's in.
Yeah, there's 150 customers out there at Beacon Hill that could really help us if we could get that.
And then if we get enough money through the grant, to incentivize those folks to get off the septic. And they won't have to spend 10 or 12 grand to get on our system.
And I don't know how restricted that 10 million is gonna be, but we still have that opportunity, and I've heard through the grapevine that it's coming back around again. They're gonna try to push the Gulf Air thing on us, but that's 350, almost 400 customers. If they can be paid through a grant, it's free to us.
And that was the take on it, the biggest issue that we had was that right now you don't have lift stations out there.
Right.
So that was gonna be a big expense, so if you can get
Buy
this
and
money
pay for
through
it.
here to get it, then, you know.
Absolutely.
As long, grant's fine, as long as we're not paying more than it's worth.
No, I totally
Yeah,
agree.
it's always,
That's
they've
been
always
the issue, yeah.
had it priced too high. Even though we're using not our money, it is our money, but.
I'm sure that grant would ask for a.
Yeah, so if we get the grant, the price is gonna go up on that plant.
Of course.
That's what I'm thinking, and so we just need to get
Fair
it in
market.
the ground, so we'll get it appraised and buy a couple of appraisers, and we'll go from there. If that comes up.
Yeah, I mean, that's another 300-400 customers right away.
Yep, okay. So, anybody got any other questions about the refi? It's 1.64%, incredible from what we're paying now, it's
3.41.
3.41, so, I mean, it's half.
And we'll have it paid off, right now, we're under a balloon. So in a couple of years, if we do nothing right now, we'll have a big balloon payment.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think we did the right thing. All righty, so, any more discussion on the refi that we will bring that up in the,
That's page 15 of the budget pack, of your meeting packet.
yeah, refi under old business, it's there, so we'll vote on that in the regular meeting, and, strike while iron's hot before they decide to raise it again. Righty, budget. Anybody, Commissioner Langston, you got any question while we can talk about the budget in this meeting, and, we won't have to talk about it so much the next meeting.
No, I looked over everything and, it looks good to me. I mean, everything looks pretty good.
Yeah, we have, the only thing that's changed, there's all the highlighted things have changed. It's 3 on the front page, and then on page 3, the Humane Society, we've been locked in on $8,000 for, I don't know, 15 years. They asked for 2,000 more, which is not a big ask. So that was the only other thing under non-departmental. And I'll tell you what, they do a fantastic job. If we had to have our own Humane Society or animal control inside the city, there's no telling what it costs.
Yeah,
We get by for what, 10,000 a year?
yeah,
I don't know what county's budget is for
I salute them for
Yes,
what they do
absolutely.
because I couldn't do it.
it. No, it costs us a lot of money too.
Yeah, because a lot of cities will have to pay so much per animal to house them, depending on how many come into the facility. And you have to have special vehicles to haul them in.
Yeah. A lot of goes through that. All right,
I had a question, Mayor.
yes, sir.
I'm looking on this chart of accounts and the BP claim fund. It's something we haven't talked about in years because we haven't really had to. It still shows a balance of 372,000. Do you remember what the restrictions were on that pot? I know they're working, but we kind of had a gentleman's agreement. We would only spend it on certain things.
My recollection is zero restriction.
It's not restricted by statute, but did we make an agreement among the commission? And if
Yeah,
so-
I had hoped that, if we needed, I mean, we finally got the, grant for the Centennial, but inside that grant that they approved, we have to do what they approved, and there's some things that we're gonna need at the Centennial to finish that job. So I was hoping we could use, some if we have to.
And then I guess my last question for staff, there's two contingency fund accounts right at around $8 million. What exactly is the purpose? Is that just if the
That's,
world blows up, we still got 8 million?
well, the bulk of that, in that account was the insurance proceeds and FEMA proceeds. which
That's
we-
in there.
Yes,
Okay.
we posted all of those to our contingency account. We spent and did all of our repair work out of our operating and functioning budgets. And so those funds are still there and available for us.
And how many, what's the standard for municipalities keeping, what size should that be? As far as how many years should we be able to operate on only contingencies?
It's usually about 6 months is what you try to have with reserves.
We're looking good.
That's about 6 months, what it takes to run the city.
Was it $600,000 to $700,000 a month or something like that?
So we got about 10 months of operation in there.
So it's not way out of balance.
No, I was just wondering how.
It looks pretty good, though.
It keeps growing. I keep looking every year and it keeps growing. I'm like, where do
Yeah.
we cap it and say, you know what, that's plenty of rainy day money, but.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully we won't have to use it. We're still in the height of storm season. And, God forbid we have a problem.
With that VP money, Mayor, the reason I was asking is, I mentioned this a couple meetings ago, maybe the last meeting, it's been 3 weeks. So at the last meeting about the CRA and getting a director to get everything organized and back on track again. And I'm wondering if that pot is even possibility to pull out of to acquire a director for a year's contract to get everything straightened out. If that would be eligible. That seems like the only free and clear money on the sheet.
True. And you wanted to use it to do what again now?
It would be for a staff person. And whatever we decide that is, or what it winds up being, to get someone in that office, get it organized, start holding meetings again. I think there's some statute that says you have to have a certain number of meetings every year.
Correct.
It hadn't happened. And I know we've had the storm excuse and now the COVID excuse, but it's running out of them.
Yeah, I mean, I said before, if we have money, I don't have a problem with it. A full-time person is not gonna get my vote. A part-time person, pay for it person might, because there's very little money to manage.
Yeah.
If we start having meetings and find projects, then we can start looking for the money to do the projects.
And I'm in a mindset now, Mary, that what we need to do doesn't cost money. It's giving concessions to the types of businesses that we want to encourage to come there. But in order for that to work, you've got to have landowners that either want to start those businesses or sell. But
I
you
agree.
got to put the cart before the horse in this case and say, hey, this is the kind of businesses that we're looking for. Let's get a director to come to the city and say, this is what we need. Here's the consensus. This is the kind of business that everyone would want to go to, and offer some concessions to get them enticed. Because it's
Well, it
already
might be what
opportunity
people
zone.
want to go to, but there definitely have to be a lot of market research to make sure that it will be successful.
Yep.
Do we buy the property, from the landowner and offer it as a public-private partnership? It'd be difficult to give a piece of government property for a private business.
No, I'm
Yeah.
definitely not saying that.
Yeah,
But
okay.
we could definitely waive up fees and permitting and all that stuff to entice a certain type of business.
I agree with
And
that.
they're already in opportunity zones, so the employment tax is nothing.
Yeah.
So it's a great opportunity. If there was an opportunity to open up a business, that's the cheapest place to do it right now. So, something for discussion. I just didn't know the
Yeah,
temperature of the board on using the BP money to do something like that. It is an economic development tool, and the BP money was given to us for economic development.
yeah. Problem is, if you hire somebody at some point in time, when you get to a point where you don't need them,
I don't say hire them, let's put them on, let's do a contract, just a 1-year deal, sign a contract with somebody to get it in order this year.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, it could turn into employment as soon as we start generating the TIF
Okay.
funds. But with Taco Bell showing up this year,
Yeah.
they're gonna make at least as much as the dollar store. We're gonna double in a year.
Yep, I see your point. Yep, I don't have a problem with a contract, with a start and an end date.
Yep.
Find
That's just my
an
personal
experienced person, it might,
You remember the process of
What do
going through 15 resumes at the
what are you
PSC
gonna have
meetings?
to pay to get the person that's gonna help us without burdening our staff with, doing the work?
Yeah, and I think it'd be easier for us to just say, here's what we're willing to pay, who wants the job, and then put it out there and see who we get.
Question.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
So if that person is a person that can also generate revenue for that position, I think we can have some of that in mind.
Well,
Because if we're bringing someone in that has that experience and can bring in revenue,
Talk about grants, Chester?
yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm all for it, and if that revenue would help continue that job past their contract, roll it. Okay, we got the money, and the CRA's got the money to pay for that person.
Well, that was the reason why we were so adamant about trying to get a CRA director, because we were looking at some people that we had talked with about how that they can generate revenue through grants for that area, for that CRA that we don't have right now. And so we was adamant about trying to get a support from the city to pay a person that would also bring in grants to help out.
There's so many rules and regulations with the CRAs, and I don't know what even a tenth of them are, and that person would have to be very experienced in that area, I think.
Well, we were talking with a gentleman out of the Tampa area, and he has been proven to be a genius in the area. And so without, I think, any cost to us off the top, he was willing to work with us to see how it can be done.
Now, we would have to go out for bids on this. You can't just pick a person, unfortunately, but
I didn't say.
you're the most qualified.
Yeah, we talking about just having someone who can sit down and give us some avenues and give us some direction.
CRAs is a tough animal. When you call the state, they always give you to a civilian that doesn't even work for them, that really knows their stuff. So even the state doesn't understand the rules fully.
Well, we're coming up on the end of the fiscal year, at the end of the month, and it's gonna be time to look at that reporting and those requirements, so we're gonna have to start.
So maybe at least, hey, do you think that person would be willing to consult about at least closing this year out?
Well,
What would it charge?
That's the question.
Or
Just to
X
close the
number
year
of
out, doing our
hours,
annual
yeah.
report.
Yeah,
well, so far we haven't, there has been no money issue. We just simply reached out and asked, would that person be a help, not only for us, but for the city? And right now, we're in that conversation. And like I said, I didn't want to go any further without making sure that, we do talk with the commission about bringing the person in just for a conversation,
well,
without any commitments.
I think, if it's under the bid threshold, and he was someone that we thought would help close this year out, we could pay him for his work. If it's under the bid without going out for bid, he would have to spend a little time here. So I would have no problem reaching out to him and asking him if he, it's time to close out the books for this year. What would he charge to do that? Was that okay with you guys or not?
I told you my stance. If we
Yeah.
go forward without a director for too long, I'm not gonna be the one, that's responsible for what isn't happening right now. We've got to find somebody that can run the show.
You sound like y'all may want to call a PSC.
I run the meetings, I don't run the show.
That's right, that's right.
Sound like y'all may want to call a PSJRA meeting to discuss this stuff.
That's a possibility
That,
too.
that might give him an opportunity to see how much money we have in the bank. That way you'll see your balances you have working with it, the projection for next year, that funds that'll be available. And y'all just figure out, what you want to do as far.
We could get, pass CRA director to you know, see what they would charge. AKA the only one I know that's fast still working is Gail Osborne.
And she's semi-retired and living with the grandkids up north now.
Yeah, but I mean, she likes to come down here, she might be willing to do it for us.
Won't you, talk to the guy who, you talking about Justin and ask him when he called in and talk to us and let's see what he's talking about, you know?
Yeah, Johnson.
Let's see what he's talking about and, still have to, we have to go out for bid for it.
If it's under $10,000, we don't.
We don't have to.
Let's just listen to him and see what he got to say.
Well, then, during our conversation with the, Brownfield Association and the EPA, we ran into some people that are doing some great jobs, in Florida. And, they offered, to help with the council. And at that time, there was no fee estimated or even talked about. It's just that we was trying to figure out how that we can integrate the CRA conversation into what we need for the CRA that we have open for St. Joe.
Well, they can do that work, it might work into something bigger.
Well, I wanted them to have a conversation with us and not about funds, just about if they have the statements and have the right answers for us, can we use it? And that would be up to the city to decide after they hear what they have to say.
All right, Mr. Chairman, you want to call a PSJRA meeting and get with Chester and tell them when it is and see if this guy can call in when we have our meeting.
Let me bring it up when there's more of us here. Next
This
meeting,
all is
Scott
gonna
will
be here today. This is it for today.
Scott's not gonna be here.
Scott's sick.
What day works for y'all? I mean, you wanna do it at 11 right before a meeting like we typically do?
Yeah, be fine.
How about after the budget's done?
On,
The 21st would be the budget completion, right?
You want to do it before the first meeting in October?
That's what I'm thinking. That first Tuesday in October.
Just remind me when we get your ad.
oh, good, well,
That's the 5th.
I won't be here.
All right, pick another one, Mayor. You're up. What about, the 19th?
Is that gonna put us, I mean, we're supposed to close out when, in
Yeah, well,
September?
I don't even know when the reporting is due. I'm guessing at the fiscal year, they're gonna give you a little bit of time.
Do you know,
I
Mike?
don't know. I can look into it, but I know our reporting isn't due until June.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's too soon, Mayor, right after, because if you're just closing the fiscal year, they're not gonna expect it right away.
I'll have to look into that.
There isn't much money in there to close out, so.
No.
It's a simple process.
It's just knowing the paperwork that we have to
And we've got the McKinsey stamp every month, right? All
Right.
that stuff.
Sure.
It's just.
19th's fine with me.
Let's do the 19th at 11. Is
All
that
right,
good for you, Eric?
19th of October here. All right. And then we've got, Marvin Davis, I believe, is on our board.
And Lynn Willis, isn't she?
And who?
Linda Willis?
Oh, she sure is. Yeah,
So I'll get a hold of both of them then.
okay. And then the commissioner.
Question, you had Lynn Willis on there, then you had Linda Bullock.
Yeah,
Coming, showing up on the board. So which one would it be?
I thought Willis was
Linda
on
filled
board
out the
officially.
paperwork. Linda Bullock.
Maybe it was. I know Lynn Willis was here sitting right where you were sitting there for a while.
we voted,
All the book, it was in the, bullet that was sitting here.
yeah, Linda Bullock was sitting here. Lynn Willis, I think we voted to have her, and I'm not sure she ever, is that right? Charlotte, you're gonna have to look at
I
it.
can look it up.
Thank you.
We'll get one Lynn and a Marvin. And that'll
Yeah.
suffice.
Yeah, I know Linda Bullock has been to a couple of
Yes.
meetings
Okay.
since I've been here.
And I'd be mixing up Boy Scouts. Lynn Willis is on that board too, so maybe that's the
Okay.
one I'm thinking.
All right, anything else on budget or the refi, which is all tied in the budget? All right, we adjourn the workshop.
Can I have one more?
Yes, sir.
Can we just talk a little bit longer? Or are you hungry?
We got 12 o'clock. No, I've had something.
I just figured we got 30 minutes before our meeting starts, and in the spirit of trying to keep the meeting short, let's just get it out of the way now.
Yeah.
Food trucks becoming more and more of an issue, and the state has also been hearing about it. And the state last year passed a law that said Cities could not charge money, they can't be in charge of the inspections, they can't be in charge of the licensing, any of that stuff. The city of Appalach just settled a lawsuit for $50,000 because they prohibited one. But here's the thing, I talked to their attorney, and their attorney told me that it was because they did not allow an avenue to have one at all. If there's some way within our ordinances or our land development regulations that we could allow one, if they just had to jump through some hoops to get it, that's okay. But if it's just expressly prohibited, it's bad. And the fact that nowhere in any of our ordinances doesn't use the word food truck. We need to come up with some kind of ordinance to restrict or allow or whatever we need to do, but I think we need to address it coming up. And I'm gonna have to abstain from the vote. I think David Warner's spoken to you about it as well, but we've been trying to put one out.
No, I haven't really have,
Dan talked to you about that one?
not about a food truck.
Okay. Well, at Taproot, what the problem that we're running into is the food truck must be attached according to our current rules. And it doesn't say food truck, it says an accessory building. Has to be attached to the main business. Is that right, Jim? The main operating
It's
business?
gotta be a permanent structure.
Well, that parcel is actually 3 separate parcels, and he wants to put the food truck on the other end of the parcel, on the far end by where the Baptist church was in that area.
Right.
That's its own parcel, so it can't be attached. And if we separate the 3 parcels, then there's no main building to attach to. So what I would probably recommend, my biggest problem with food trucks is that when they come in, they make all their money and they pay their taxes to the county where they're registered. If we could write some sort of an ordinance that's saying that it must be on land zoned for a restaurant, must be a commercial or mixed use zone that's already zoned for restaurant, and must be operated by the owner of that land. That way, it's not a situation where people are just coming in from out of town and making money and leaving with it. It would be made here locally. And I don't see a reason why we would be against it. If a restaurant would be allowed in the first place, why not allow a food truck? Other than aesthetics, you might get some that are dumpy, but in that case, you know what? The consumer determines the success of the business. If you've got the best food, you're gonna do the best business. So,
Yeah.
If I can throw this out.
Yeah.
At the beach, we had a similar problem years ago, and what the board there ended up doing was creating in the LDR, the requirement that if a truck came in or a business such as that, it had to be on the existing commercial.
Right.
Lot with the existing business, so not vacant, so there had to be a business in conjunction with that, and they had to have written permission from the owner of that business to even apply for that vending license or the.
and I guess to fix our scenario would just be to eliminate the language that would require it to be attached to the main structure, as long as it's on that parcel with a fully operating business.
And it was, I think, 3 or 6 month permit, so it wasn't long.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a food truck and like Gant's barbecue truck?
Because Gantz,
You knew a bunch of
they
people
were
on board back
grandfathered.
then?
They're pretty,
Back before.
They were pre that LDR.
Pre-LDR, yeah. Today, we couldn't go in there and open up one like, Gantz barbecues open today. So yes, the issue of food truck has never been addressed formally up to this board. It just said a permanent structure, so the decision's gotta be made as to whether food trucks are.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, is an LDR issue. That's probably the main
You'd have to change
issue.
the
With your 3 parcel issue,
Well, both,
that'd be easy to make that 1 parcel, just go to the city and have it engineered and say, we want this 1
and that
parcel.
would be my proposal, Rex, is
Instead
just to
of
lose the
3.
language that says it must be attached to a permanent structure.
All you really have to do is go to your mixed use district or whatever district you want and you just put in there, food trucks are allowed with certain criteria.
If there's a business already on the property, that way you can't just take a vacant lot without a business on it and put it. But if you had a business operating there, I don't see why you wouldn't.
Well,
We need to still be so strict, Rex, because I don't want people just pulling in and parking on Reed and selling hamburgers.
no, and you touched on a few of the things that would make it more palatable to me anyway, because we got 14 independent restaurants in town, brick and mortar restaurants. They employ a bunch of people. They pay a lot of water and sewer for us. They do and they pay ad valorem tax on top of all of that other stuff they pay. To allow somebody to come in here and not do that, I'm against that.
No, and I would say, Rex, make them hook up the city water and sewer. So
I
that's
mean,
on that property
They'll
owner, one
have,
lines.
they'll have to pay an impact fee, which they're not gonna do. And if it was part of that business, I just don't think it's fair competition to these other outfits. It's like somebody at the Labor Day weekend, bringing temporary trailers in and parking them across the mainstay and charging $50 a night.
Yeah.
For a room. I mean, and then leave the next day. They paid nothing to the city. They've just hurt an existing business. And that's the hoops, in my mind, you're gonna have to jump through to make it easier for me to swallow.
Yeah, and you said that you wouldn't do that. I think there are people that might. Like, I know in this instance, it is a local restaurateur that wants to run the truck.
Yeah,
Wants another location. It's actually Dr. Hugh from The View that wants to put it there.
yeah.
And he's excited about offering up sliders and things, plus the location being on the way. Now that we got the flashy cross lights and everything, it'll be right past
If
it.
he pays the same thing as other folks, we can't deny it. I mean, he's gonna have a business, but he's got to, I don't know how he's gonna hook it up to the location you're talking about.
Yeah. and
Number
it's-
one, you could, if you make it one parcel, and number two, he's gonna have to abide by the LDRs through the building department, which is gonna have to take wheels off of it and do like they did with Shooties. Same thing. They
And
made
that's
it-
fine. Again, the only issue that, this is just my personal problem, is that it has to be attached to the main structure. The way that we're set up, you can't attach it to it. But if we anchor that thing down to the ground, build everything around it and put a roof over it, because we were just gonna build a little 5x8 storage block building behind it that we would attach to, and the roof structure would come off of that, and it would have walls all the way around the food truck. That was the plan.
So it's almost permanent.
It would be attached to a structure, but it's not the primary operation structure. It's not the main building. It's attached to another, it's attached to an auxiliary structure.
Right,
Not mobile. Not mobile.
No. So that's the only issue that we're having, is that if I kept the lots subdivided, there is no operating business on that one parcel. If I combine the 3 lots, I'm required to attach it to the building that's operating the business, as it currently reads. I just need it to be, here's the building, we own all 3 of these lots, we'll go ahead and zone them all together as one lot, if we can have that allowed. It's the whole being attached to the primary structure where we're kind of hung up right now.
Mhm. I just don't wanna open up Pandora's box to allow food trucks to come in here and compete with existing businesses that pay a lot of tax, employ a bunch of people. We're gonna have one person in that food truck, he's gonna own the food truck.
Yeah, and I share your concern, and I think that we can make it restrictive enough where, like I said, I could maybe think of, well, I really can't think of any other place other than that Duran's building that he's trying to sell on First Street there. But, or not First Street, we're on 98,
Second.
Second Street, yeah. That might also qualify, but you'd have to be a business owner, you'd have to, box it in, build a structure to attach it to. But it can't be the primary structure. I don't see it, like if you were talking about an empty lot on Reed Avenue, it wouldn't qualify because they don't have a business operating,
Right, Yeah.
So I think if you'd allow me to write something up with our attorney that addresses all your concerns, I think we can make it restrictive enough where at least the people that own land that are allowed to do a restaurant will also be allowed to do a food truck.
yeah, I'd like to see it, write it up, and so we can, see if it's gonna be fair to the folks that have invested a lot of time and money in their permanent business. I know we had a problem with Cozy Cafe, that somebody just rolled a food truck in there and started selling food and doing a lot of business, but I was sitting there at Cozy Cafe eating lunch, and me and 2 other tables, and both piling in the food truck over there. So it's gotta be fair, I mean.
And if we make them take the wheels off, it's considered a permanent structure by the state. If we don't, if we allow them to put the wheels on, they're only allowed to park there for 6 months maximum. Then they have to be off-site for 30 days and come back.
Yeah.
So we'll have to figure that part out, but if I can work something up and get back to y'all, that would be helpful.
Some places have a food truck deal
Parks.
once a month as part of a scout festival or something like that. That wouldn't be so bad, but have it sitting there competing with the other folks is where I have a
That's the
problem.
catch-22, Mayor. If we could allow them on wheels, we just pull it in for the weekend and then get it out of there. But because we have to take the wheels off, it's gotta be a structure that's gotta sit there.
Uh-huh.
But Mayor, those that are coming in across the street from the Cozy, shouldn't they have to have a city permit in order to do that? And just
I
get
have what,
a
Justin?
city permit. or
Yes,
something.
you should have to
In
have a
order just
business
to
permit.
drive up and do that,
Yep.
that should be against any ordinance
Well,
that we have.
it happened, and the problem is, it's, folks are asking forgiveness instead of permission. And so they come in there before you know it, and then they're gone, and it's just.
Yeah, they slip in on Saturday and leave Sunday.
That's right, so it's just a matter of doing the right thing, and some folks aren't gonna do that, but,
I would love to see that posted though, somewhere,
yeah,
so that, you know, even if it happens somewhere, a good citizen might make a phone call.
right, it would be, you know, another thing that police would have to enforce, but that's, you know, okay, anyway.
That's all I have on that, Mayor.
Yeah,
I think we need
yeah,
to
well,
address it, and the
right.
state require, or doesn't require, but would like everyone to address it, because what's gonna wind up happening is like vacation rentals. We're lucky that we had ordinances about vacation rentals before
Yeah.
2012.
Yeah.
Now, you're not allowed to make anymore. And that's gonna happen with food trucks if we don't address it now. So let's make it as strict as we can, that doesn't prohibit it, but make it strict. That way going forward, we can say we have ordinances on the books that already address it.
Right.
It's a safety issue there.
You might want to check with Mexico Beach. They have several food trailers out there that are, like you're talking about. on the-
They pull in front of the
Huh?
lookout. They have a different one at the lookout every week.
Yeah, that's under the county. I don't know what the county's.
Yeah.
I know that the donut thing and Shoebies.
Yeah.
Food truck is there.
I'll spend an hour with our
But,
attorney this
like,
week.
Killer Seafood is one.
Yeah, and is that gonna be a permanent structure that they're gonna allow? I don't
Then
understand.
just past that, there's 3 or 4 more
Little
different.
And they may have just done an emergency ordinance that allows them temporarily until they can get everything rebuilt. I don't know.
We don't know. We don't.
Right now, they just
Anyway.
pull in.
So I'll work with the attorney and we'll come up with something.
Yeah, come up with something, you know, not, pardon me, Clint, but not legally, something that most of us can understand.
Right. Maybe he'll write it legalese and he'll give me the bullet points I can speak English.
Yeah, that'll be fine. All right, we'll adjourn the workshop.
Do something with this
Yeah.
podium.
Yeah.
We've got to do something with the podium. It's blocking
No.